Fellow travelers, join us on a journey into dissonance, a sense-making sojourn through humanist nightmare fuel. If you are receiving this transmission, then you too are part of the resistance.
Hey travelers. As we continue to examine stigmatization and criminalization in low SES communities, Dr. Siraj and I go a layer deeper to look at how feasible it is for a person laden with generational trauma to pull themselves up and out of structural poverty by their bootstraps. Should we continue to promote the idea that if people work hard enough, they may yet climb out of a pit that is designed specifically to encase them? Or should we take a closer look in order to understand what the pit of poverty was designed to do and work together to change it? You be the judge as we listen in now.
If the aim of a city like this is development, and even here having units of housing in economically prosperous areas that are new, brand new and amazing, be empty because people can't afford them, then obviously the aim is for the profit of the developers to make those places appear and be there, and then we fulfilled our contract. Like, you deal with it now. That kind of an idea. And yet there are people who are unhoused, or that's not just the thing. There's so many people who are unhoused. There are so many people who are underhoused. We have to use that term as well. Uneducated, undereducated, who have no access to healthcare, or who have a deficit in terms of access to healthcare. Like, you have access to healthcare, but it's not enough to address all the problems that are existing in your life, because even if you can afford to identify those problems, you can't afford to necessarily resolve them.
Yeah.
Right. So I don't know. I mean, I'm kind of, I went on with all that stuff just to kind of pull together that there are different things that aren't even necessarily criminalizing, but they are stigmatizing, but they are also passing the buck. There are institutions like healthcare, education, housing, even just corporate entities that because of their decision making and where they choose to place grocery stores that are shiny and wonderful for some of us, but for others the only access to food is a gas station store. And I'm going to say it that way because there's lots of colloquial ways people, oh, it's our neighborhood store. It's not a neighborhood store. It's a gas station.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a gas station without fruits, without, veggies, without with chips and soda and candy and maybe a few canned things. And they say it's a convenience store. They call it that because you're going to pay a very inconvenient price. And when I say inconvenient, it's not like, oh, it's just a couple dollars. If most of us do, I think, but definitely if you already just have limited funds to I know that I can pay this much for this week or whatnot for our food, you're going to spend half of that amount on a very few items, like a snack for that's going to go away after an hour, and if not, if you have to wait an hour for a bus to catch another bus to get to a store, if the bus has not ended, if there are constant limitations, if it's not Saturday or Sunday, because you can't get to any grocery store, that way.
And there may be a lot of people who say, well, just suck it up. Like, people don't sometimes you got to just do what has to be done. And they may offer some not necessarily feasible option, or something like, well, then you have to just really save up, and you just get yourself even a scooter, that might help you, or just something like that that can help you with a cart in the back. There may be that. There may be
Mm-hmm.
even people who are in nonprofit organizations who have a grant to provide 10 new golf carts to the community that's there, to go to the store and able to do whatever.
Right.
All of these options are either useless or near useless, because they're not addressing the web of issues that issue of transportation, or lack of access to appropriate food, even just basic survival health food, which isn't the processed burrito that you heat up in the back of the store.
Mm. Mm-mm. It's rice. Like rice.
It's the things that we send as aid to developing countries. Like, just send it down the road, man.
That is mind blowing. I have never made that connection ever. I can't even get rice in my
Yeah.
neighborhood.
Yeah. Or to, like, bastardize what Malcolm said, like, we didn't land in the third world, the third world landed on us. Like, it's
Mm.
right here. It exists. There are spaces in this city that exist as third world economic
And I think
depressed
it's
spaces.
so hard to think of it like that for people who are even in those spaces, occupying those spaces. Like it's hard, like that's,
Yeah.
because that conditioning, because of that stigma, because of that criminalization, we're just like, after a while, you just get numb to it and maybe don't even
Yeah.
recognize how much you see yourself just as like, no, I'm not that. Like even in situations where I've been in domestic violence, I did not see myself as a victim. I still don't see myself as a victim, even though I know I was victimized, but I didn't even see myself as a person who was abused, who was being abused, who was in an abusive relationship. I just like, we're fighting because I wasn't the personality type to just lay there. That was stigmatized. The fact that I was a person that would fight back, that would defend myself, that would try to protect my children, it was stigmatized. You're not abused. You're not abused because you fight back, because you don't take it,
You're
because,
making me do this to you.
right, because it's your fault. Right. Anything, but I didn't even see how that sunk in. And I really just refused for the longest time to see myself as one of those women.
Mhm.
And this, we do the same thing in every space with definitely all of the things we're talking about today. Like, that's why I keep bringing up, like, it's in our head, and it's beautiful the way that you, um, like, pulled it together and spoke about it, because we need all of that. We need all of that, um, those words to express. We need all of those words you shared to express the things that have gone so long unspoken that it just feels like a rock on your chest. Like words. What the fuck? I don't know language for this.
Mhm.
So it's important that, you are talking about it in a way until I feel that unction, until other people feel that unction of like, oh yeah, oh, that's what that was. Like, I never had a word to express or a phrase to express what I just have experienced throughout my entire life. I never had the opportunity to think in a different way than what was forced on me.
Yeah. And that is the complicity across social institutions. Many people who work within them, who may not even have an inkling of, but they're all conspiring to essentially do what they're designed to do, which they're doing well, which is to maintain the status quo. And the status quo is, in this country especially, there are different types of people of color that are economically, legislatively, criminally oppressed. But for however long, even though there were Japanese internment camps and Chinese slave labor and the economically depressed areas in which even Caucasian immigrants like may have, the Irish, and then there were, even what was happening relative for many years, but even up until now, in terms of lots of Latinx members, who are non-citizens who come here and are criminalized, even though they're capitalized on as well. Like they're like money is made from those people, but they're criminalized at the same time. But it's always been Black people. Started that way. It was on the backs and blood and babies of Black slaves that we got to where we did as an economic powerhouse, as a country. Or it's hard to even say we. It's really, there's a they, but no one likes they, because like, who's they? And well,
Them.
they is, if we look at like the ideas, I mean, there's too many things that have been placed out there. There's conspiratorial ideas,
Yes.
there's the 1% and the 99%, there's all those kinds of things, but the reality is that the scenario is still that Black people provide the floor for the economic tower of America.
That is horrible. That's horrible. That's not acceptable.
Yeah. There has to be a bottom. There has to be a basement. So someone's got to do it. Well, the ceiling is where people are who are reaping the benefits of the, what is it, like 10, 12 million
I'm just saying
Black
it doesn't
people that are
seem like there
incarcerated.
really
That
is a ceiling. Like there is an end, like there is a cap,
no,
even
no.
just
Yeah, that way I don't think there's a cap at all.
Yeah.
And that's the problem. But that's not even a problem of human capital. That's a problem also of natural resources. Like,
Right.
bro, there's a ceiling. We're dangerously close to it because the world is going to stop giving to us what we need, not even just to make profits, but to survive. And if you think that you're like kind of techno feudal, like little area of like, we're this lord and lady of this rich area and we're gonna survive, those days are not going to ever come, because there's too many people. There's too many people in the world. We're bordering on 8 billion people. And you know what? It was crazy. I was watching some media content the other day where it was from the early 2000s. So it was like 2004, let's say. So it was 20 years ago, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they were saying, and I think it might have even been something from like 2006, so less than 20 years ago. And they were saying, a character was saying on there, they're like, you don't understand, like, I mean, it was like a sci-fi thing. So they were like, there's 6 billion humans on this planet. And I was like, wait, when was the show? 2006? 6 billion. And it's true. And 18 years later, we're bordering on 8 billion. There is no, we're rich and we have like walls built around our communities, like in that Puerto Rican documentary that we saw about all the venture capitalists that come in and just build it. Like, there are too many people who are other. They're not all just going to die of famine. They're going to be pissed. There's no walls that are going to keep those people out. Like that's the real message of all those zombie movies you see. Right. Like, those zombies is us. We're the zombies, and we're the ones who are like, we're pissed, and like the ones that climb up over, and people are like, what are we gonna do? We have to defend ourselves. We have to find a solution. Well, that's what George A. Romero said. He said it's like, if the world keeps going like this, it's gonna become masses of zombies, and then it's gonna be too late to try and fix it. Like, don't try to fix it then. Fix it now, right?
Yeah.
And
Fix
fixing
it
it
now.
now goes. It begins with this step of decriminalizing, destigmatizing being poor, because being poor isn't that person's failing. It
Right.
is our collective failing. That's the problem. That's the problem. Right. So let's take a look. I know, this part's going to be, and this is before we get to some other, like, we'll let some other voices come into this, but let's just take a look at something that was personal to you, that
Mm-hmm.
you have, even though it's in a vulnerable space to exist in, you have chosen to share it, and it became a part of the research and the narrative of this stream, because it's a beautifully articulated like story, and how nuanced it is, at how even in a single moment between just two human beings, all of this stuff about criminalizing and stigmatizing poverty just seeped in, right? And it was remarkable. So we'll begin, right? This is the story of Nadine P, and how she went to see someone uh, at a health clinic
Mm-hmm.
about a particular issue,
Mm-hmm.
and or a series of issues, just general health,
Mm-hmm.
and and it's important to say that you did this after many years where you thought, oh, health care, that's just not for me. I'm not one of those people. And then you came to a point of self advocacy where you did strive to secure, through the channels available to you, health care. And then you started going, and now we're here.
Mm-hmm.
So this segment is called "A Chronicle of My Awful Experiences." There's a reason for that, right?
Yeah.
So let's just start through this, right? I
Mm-hmm.
didn't know they were going to ask me a wide range of questions, a whole summation of my life of trauma. Why would that be a situation in a what is assumed to be a primary care visit?
Yeah, like it was the way it was put to me is that they do ask a lot of questions because they want to get full range of your life and try to see where, t take things from different angles and see where the, you know, in this case, pain is coming from. Like what is it? So but I still that just still doesn't give me any clue that we're gonna go through
Financial issues,
financial poverty was
relationships,
like, bro, like, oh,
children. Do you have any training, any skills? What's your 5 to 10 year plan? I didn't know that was a part of pain management. I mean, I often deal with patients adjacent to pain management. They have chronic issues, so they come to me to work through their experience of that chronic condition, and to move towards self advocacy to become a
mhm.
stronger partner in their own healthcare. Uh, I don't ever fucking see this like being
Yeah,
like
I've
on the
never
agenda for pain management. Like, what is all that?
I never saw that ever before, ever in my
Right.
life either. I've never had anybody ask me those questions. And then just the way that when I did answer those questions, we first just zooped by all the traumatic stuff that I had just expressed. And it was like any story I told, usually I like in a space like this, I'm sharing those, I'm bringing those forth, right. But like say, and maybe around your, for me around my close circle, I'll feel trust to share, but it's not something I just go and, hey doc, like guess what happened to me when I was 3. Like no,
Right.
that wasn't a part of today, and except for the just bodily things or whatnot. But it was apparent that he was digging for, like trauma or like, like bad things that happened or accidents or, that even made more sense. Like, okay, I can understand why you're looking to see if I had an accident, but like, why are you getting in my pockets? Does that add to my stress? Yeah. What kind of stupid question is that? That's not why I'm in pain. Like, what? Or maybe, are you trying to say that is why I'm in pain? I didn't get any of this checked out when I was 9, but it wasn't about
Yeah.
that. It was like, um, it felt like some of it maybe was about that, but it just made me question because he was looking at the computer. It was like, well, what are you reading from when you're asking me these weird questions? Like, what's my 5 to 10 year plan? You mean what's my health plan? Oh, just
Mhm.
my 5 to 10 year plan. And then I shared that. I was sharing work that I do, work that we do together, work that I do in the community, work that I'm doing with women, empowerment work. And I guess I didn't see any of the key money words because he was just like, so you have no plan. That was really when it was just like, wait, he should have just stood up and stood me up and punched me directly in the stomach. Like instead,
Yeah.
I would have had more understanding for that.
Yeah. I mean, it's remarkable that someone who is uh, a practicing healthcare provider. I mean, I know better in saying this because I've trained groups of first year health profession students, who are going to be physicians, nurses, PAs, dentists, public health professionals, whatever the case is. Um, train them in behavioral health integration, which is a really, kind of academic way of saying, hey, don't ever look at person who's hanging on by a thread and say, oh, so you have no plan. That's not a good idea.
Fucking stupid.
Yeah, that's not a great idea. And as you said here, these are your quotes on the screen, right? I mean, not all these are things that you said to the person, but probably you wish you could have said, so this is about me being poor. You could have just led with that,
Yeah.
but there's something insidious here. There's something else going on, right? Let's skip to the next screen and see if we can get into that. Right to the bottom bullet, actually. He said this was because of my insurance. If there's a progression toward my making money in the future to pay for ongoing health care, he was an enforcer for the insurance company. Now, let's just say there's a lot of MAGA trolls who might say, well, you need to figure that out. That's your personal responsibility to know how you're going to pay for all this. We don't want to pay for you. Fair.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, we can argue that point and get into whatever things. It's sort of bullshit, but because really everything they're complaining about is also helping them, because most of those people who are saying that are counting on government subsidies. Government subsidies isn't just Section 8 housing. Government subsidies is also tax cuts and
Mm-hmm.
tax breaks and tax incentives that are helping those people in the thousands of dollars, if not tens and hundreds, right? But let's just say these are just regular old folk. They're still getting the breaks from the government. This is also a government break. Like, you can't afford to pay for all that shit. That's why this insurance is going to cover this for you. But this idea of a physician taking the stance of being a person who is policing something, not for the great institution of healthcare. No, this is health insurance companies. They're corporations. Like
1,000%.
the 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 Starbucks, that has its own labor issues that are going on. That's a corporation. But at least that corporation it seems like it's doing what it's meant to do. It's oppressing workers and making billions and millions on coffee, and oppressing people from where the beans are sourced. It's making me not want to drink this coffee, but one problem at a time. One problem at a time. Because I can say that in the same way for multiple other, this is
Right.
from a corporation and this is from a corporation and all of that,
This.
but yeah, but the idea that this person is enforcing something for a corporation, it's like, I mean, it's like another issue. It's like the police becoming enforcers of houselessness.
Mm.
Like, you've criminalized that. Here, this is being stigmatized. It shouldn't really be him saying this. That's the problem we're trying to address.
Right.
Like, do your fucking job, man. How much of this is 3 slides worth of fucking conversation, have we addressed the source of your chronic fucking pain? Jesus Christ. And I thought we were supposed to be timely. Just fucking get on with it. What is all this shit? The doctor sits behind a computer, an authority figure, holding the keys to my future of healthcare. I can't challenge him. Right? You're scared. Scared to be
Yeah.
like, hey, this is bullshit, dude. Can we just get on with it? Because, oh, she's a belligerent black woman. We definitely X her off the list
Yeah.
of healthcare. I mean, I don't. I'm
Yeah.
sorry. I'm
It is
getting
scary.
pissed.
It is
Yeah,
scary because I'm sitting there trying to collect my. I'm like, what? How fucking dare? How dare you? What do you mean? I just told you my plan. Is it
incredibly
not good
evasive.
enough for you?
Yeah.
Is that what part? I had all these questions, but the main thing that the reason I'm there, like, then it just went back to why did you even lead me here? It felt like I was being led off of a cliff, not cared for, not being a partner, there being a partner in my healthcare for my body. I have to live no matter if I make $0 or millions of dollars. I still have to live in this body. I have to function. I need to be able to walk and do things. And that's what I was there for. That's what I was there to deal with and confront. And it took me a long time to have the courage to even go into these spaces and do these things because of people like him who have their own ulterior motives and just come in and treat it like, well, this is just my business, whatever it is to you, but this is my business. I'm the expert in the room, but this is my body and my existence and my life. You're not the only expert in the room.
Mhm.
Like just that, hey, pick your head up from the computer and address the human when you ask these pointed and traumatic questions. Like, and shut the fuck up about my plan, bitch.
Mhm. So we talk about ancestral trauma that feeds into current moments, and that's too is something that physician should be able to understand before asking you any of this. He should be able to probe, to be sensitive to what your past trauma may be, because asking if you're getting your shit together now is something. It's not like you
This shit
haven't
is
been
together.
like, oh my
As much as
god,
it can be.
thank you, sir. I'd never thought about that before.
You're the
I've never
only one who's
tried.
ever.
I've never asked. No one's ever said that to me before. These are your ideas. Feels like it's a pattern. Seeing this doctor reminded me of when I was in college. Always the tensions of choosing between food and electric and work and school. Went to the school's financial assistance office, and the lady asked me all the personal questions of my day to day, just like this physician did,
Mm-hmm.
in a discouraging, judgmental voice, to just
Mm.
not give me the aid anyway, saying you're probably going to keep running into this problem. So we're not taking a bet on you because you're one of those poor ones. You're one of those hopeless ones. You're one of those that are just going to fall through the cracks and be forgotten. So what's the point? And so you quit
I
school.
quit.
She caused me to feel hopeless. They keep discouraging us from even trying. Those are your words.
Yeah. Yeah.
This
And the
is what
thing
stigmatizing poverty does.
and the thing is I went on and I didn't like I'm coming back to it now and it's, I've come back to it before now even, but it's important to note that I went on and lived my life and I had this super negative feeling, but I internalized that. I felt like a piece of shit because I couldn't stay in school like everybody else. Like all of the young white women that just felt like the way their hair was flowing and they were walking, but they're probably stressed the fuck out about their classes. But to me, it was just like, they can do this. And I got to take my po black ass and go get a job so that my kids don't starve. And I didn't even it just stayed there. It just stayed there inside me.
Right. So that's an important thing because there are trolls who will also say, "Oh, you're just being racist towards white women. They have challenges, they have stresses, like you said.
Yeah.
They have also, there's plenty of white women going into financial aid offices,
Hmm.
but that idea of them walking around a college campus with their hair flowing and they can just all that possibility shining around them, that's not nothing. That is, rather than ancestral deficit, that's ancestral cumulative gain, a consolidation of resources, power that provides them the ability to walk around simply. This is the simple difference we're trying to address when we talk about criminalization and stigmatization.
Hmm.
Those women can walk around that space or walk into that financial aid office and know, I applied for this. It's, where is my funding for this semester? They can do that because they are conditioned to feel like they belong there.
Yeah.
You better give me what's coming to me. And you didn't. And that's unfortunate. It's a horrible situation, a horrible thing. Let's just remind everyone that we're addressing right now.
Hmm.
That you just put your head down and we're like, yep, okay. Or you could have punched her in the face, but that would have also, like, I figured that's the kind of person she was. I saw it as soon as she walked in the door.
I felt defiant, actually. I felt like because she wasn't just encouraging me to quit, she was actually proclaiming like doom for my life. Bro,
Yeah,
what?
yeah,
So then I was just like, oh, no, 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 you can't come any further past this. Sure, I'll get out of your space, which was not the right thing. That wasn't her space
yeah.
any
That's just her
less
fucking
than it
job.
was mine.
Yeah,
But I was like, fine, let me get out of your space. But I also can't let you in mine and let my family go down like how you're saying that's going to be. And I felt defiant in that, no, I'm not going to just starve or just keep having my electric go off or keep doing that. And I got a job. And like for a lot of people, that's like, oh, that's like success story. But guess what? My freaking electric kept getting cut off. I got kicked out of the place that I stayed in because I didn't have the funding that I had to pay the rent because the job wasn't covering shit. Like it wasn't like, and then from then on, no, bro, the same pattern kept happening because no matter those changes, structurally, like systemically, like there were a lot of things that were not different. And they're not different now as far as, my life. They're not different now. I'm different. you know, I'm definitely different. I've definitely grown, I've developed, but it's important to note that my circumstances, though they are comparatively better to where I was, it's because of the funding that I receive, the subsidies. Like if not for them, I would still be in the same exact position, even though I'm stronger and I know more and I work harder and well, I don't say I work harder. I worked pretty freaking hard then too, but like I'm more focused and directed in my path and what I want to do.
yeah.
Still, the poverty, the child, the issue fucking exists.
There are, we don't even have to argue that point. There are people
Yeah.
with graduate degrees that are underemployed or unemployed. And this idea of the unemployment rate as it's going up, it's not like that's counting work that is, it's just jobs fulfilled. That's what that job count is. It's not the level of job, the quality of job, the quality of compensation, salary. It's not taking all those things into account because
Mm,
that would make our employment statistics look a lot less healthy
mm,
if that was the case. For the employed people, right? So it's not looking. I mean, there's data that looks at that because that's why I say that we can look that up and see, or it's easy enough to do so about people who have come through a very long path of education as I have, but there are people who have done that who have a lot of school loan debt as I do, but they are very underemployed. they're not working in their field because they're working to scramble just to be able to pay something, but they can't do the work in their field. And a lot of people, not everyone who has graduate degrees, folks, don't think graduate degrees are a magical portal to, you know, big six-figure salaries. They're not. They're not. Graduate degrees, I mean, it depends on what kind of degree you get, but a lot of people get, like me, get a lot of education in social science work, which is necessary if you're the many, 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 many people who feel the weight of an oppressive white supremacist boot on their face.